Okay, welcome back to the channel. Hobby1 Kenobi here. As you can see, we're continuing work on the SU-25 by Zvezda, and I've installed the cockpit at this point and glued the fuselage halves together, and the vehicle is fitting really well. Everything's going in together nice and smoothly. I've got the Quinta Studios 3D decals. I decided not to use the decals for the red ejection seat handle. I made these out of thin wire and then painted them. I will say one thing about the detail of the scribing at the top of the vehicle. Because there's a curvature, it seems as if some of the detail is not as crisp as the other scribing on the rest of the kit. So you might consider sanding this down and rescribing it if you can get a finer, more crisp look to it. I think I'm going to leave it on this vehicle. As you can see, the tail has not yet been glued. I wanted to ensure that the fins are aligned properly once things get together. So I went ahead and painted the bottom wheel well here for the front. I need to get this painted up and ready to go so I can attach the landing gear before other bottom fuselage parts are connected. I added some weights to make sure the front stays down. And there's a seam along the middle here. You're going to want to make sure that you don't fill that in. That needs to be there. Next up, looking at the tail, there are these holes that on the port side are correct, but on the starboard side need to be filled and reset. They're in the wrong position, so I just went ahead and drilled those out. Next, we're looking at the intakes. Rather than deal with the seams all at different times, I decided to attach the front lip of the intake as well as the inner wing portion. That way I could deal with all of the seam work at one time. It was pretty easy to take care of with some sanding sticks and a little bit of CA glue. I did need to paint the intake, so that color needed to be figured out very early in the process. And as you can see here, I've got the fans for the engine, and they've been painted and received a wash. So in a little bit, I'm going to attach them to now the painted intakes. All of these steps should be done before you attach the intakes to the vehicle. It's going to be much harder to paint everything down the road. So now I'm going to attach the fans, and we're going to use some Tamiya extra thin cement. Just a few little drops will do it. For the color of the inside of the intakes, I mixed some Tamiya colors. I did about 8 milliliters of XF2, which is a white, and just a few drops of green and a few drops of blue. And this gave me just the right color, checking against my references. Dealing with the color, you're going to need to figure that out ahead of time. So you're going to need to decide which vehicle you're going to do ultimately, because there is a light blue color and a light gray color. So you need to match the inside of the intakes, which is the color of the bottom of the aircraft. I decided to go with an Afghan War vehicle. These two at the top here were both involved in the Afghan War. I decided to go with this sort of tan and brown color. So for that one, I needed the lighter gray color. Now I'm going to attach the intakes to the fuselage, again using Tamiya extra thin cement. And I've got some clamps that I absolutely love, and I'm going to use these to hold the intake against the fuselage as the glue dries. If you're building this model for the quality of, say, contest, you're going to want to take care of the seam on these intakes on the outer part. These will be seen if a judge were to pick the vehicle up and inspect inside the intakes. There's also a pin mark that I would recommend taking care of as well. It's just this one right here. Next, I started to attach the walls of the wheel well, and these went on really nicely. Again, just a couple of drops of Tamiya extra cement took care of them nicely. Then I sprayed Tamiya black in the recesses and did some light coats of this yellow and green mix of Tamiya paints. Then I used my favorite gloss from Mission Models and prepared the model for the actual wash. So for the wash, I like to use Windsor and Newton paints. These are artist oils, and they are thinned with terpenoid. And for this color, I just mixed some black and some white and a little bit of brown to make this sort of shadow, dirty, weathered effect. I ended up spending a lot of time and a lot of detail in this area, only to find later that much of it is obscured by the rest of the fuselage once everything goes together. So I would recommend not spending too much time detailing all of this up as I had. Finally, I painted the landing gear in a light gray, also sprayed a gloss, let it dry, and now I'm applying the wash to the landing gear. And in the next video, we will remove much of the dried wash so you can see what it looks like with all the shadows. That does it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the like button. Please share this video. Please feel free to comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.